Hey everyone, it's Gianna Lund at Vinci Crypto, where we keep you in the loop on all the latest trends and news of crypto blockchain technology. Together, we're building a crypto movement that fights for climate justice and economic empowerment. Today, we have another special guest on our show. We have Greg Hamalian. He's the founder of ADAGram. If you want to wave hi to the camera, you can, Greg.
Hello. Whoop, whoop.
This one's actually another Cardano project. But before we get started, we like asking all of our guests one question first. So I want to ask you, Greg, what's the first word that comes to mind when you hear the word crypto and why?
I think for me, the first word that popped into mind would be misunderstood. And I say misunderstood because I'm in this space and I see an entire world of potential, the way we can change the world, what we can do. Every day I'm learning new things. I'm fascinated by the new ideas and I'm really inspired by the other people in this space really seeking to make the world a better place. And it's just so inspiring. And I mean, these guys are brilliant, they're smart, they're hardworking, and they don't choose crypto or blockchain to do their thing and put blockchain first. It's, I have a problem to solve, how can I best solve it? Oh, blockchain and crypto is the answer, I'm going to solve it that way. So there's a whole bunch of potential. But then on the other hand, there are people who just don't get it. And it's funny that I have a story from last night. So yeah. My family was in town. We went out to a restaurant with my cousin, and my cousin on the surface would be like someone that I would think would be all into crypto. So politically, he's super libertarian. He works in tech and finance and writes code for traders. So I'm like, oh, you must be all about crypto. You would understand it. And I made an off the cuff silly joke about the US dollar is backed by the full faith of the US government, which basically means it's backed by Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman. Like just a silly, like military type joke. And my cousin then goes, yeah, I don't get how Bitcoin's there. Like it's not backed by anything. And then my mom said, oh, it's going to fail. I don't like, and all this stuff. And they had this long conversation about it. And my wife is next to me and I'm like, I'm biting my tongue because I just want to have a pleasant dinner. And I basically ended with like, you know, it's tough because there are obviously grifters and scammers with any new field, but there's really a lot of people that I think are trying to make a big difference in crypto. And then we kind of changed the topic and had a great evening, but that story isn't to say my cousin's a bad person, my mom's a bad person, but it's they just don't understand the potential and they haven't really taken the time to understand it. So you have on this surface, crypto isn't great. And then other people who are involved in are like, this is the greatest invention ever, or something like that. So I know that's a long answer to why, but I guess that's why I would say misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many people in the crypto space have stories like that. They have friends, they have family, and I mean, their family might hear all the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt from the government too. Like, oh, it's like a black market thing. It's what all the criminals use, but they don't understand like projects like yours, things with real utility, real use case. They're gonna do phenomenal things for the future, but they just hear about the rug pulls, the scams, and all the bad stuff. And I think all the junk will go away eventually, and the good projects will rise. Just it takes time because we're still in the infancy of this whole technology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So
yeah, so I like that word, misunderstood. So I want to know, how did you get in this whole blockchain space and how did you meet your team or the team that you're putting together for ADAGram?
Yeah, so I guess it supposes entirely what you mean by when and what time scale you're talking. So I was in school, I was a mathematics major, philosophy minor, and I had my advisor actually taught courses on cryptography and number theory, and I was fascinated by it. I loved it. I graduated and I did not work in math. So like that was kind of put on the back burner, went into a completely unrelated field. And then eventually this is super embarrassing, I'll admit it to, I'm not the only one, but I got reintroduced to crypto through Doge and Robinhood, right? So like it is kind of embarrassing, like for someone.
That's a really common story, though. A lot of people, have done that.
Yeah, but like I love the humor and I love the meme. And on Lex Friedman's podcast, he talks about people need fun, and I think the fun is definitely important, which ties into social media. We'll get to that later. But then I have a super addictive personality. So when I want to do something, I am all in all the time. So I was spending hours a day getting deeply involved, and eventually led to learning about the technology, different projects, and seeing the full potential other than, haha, this is a laugh, or this is a nice way to make money. So like I was just obsessed with that for a long time. And then I really wanted to get involved. So I started looking into smaller projects, mostly in the Cardano space, just because the ethos of the project really aligned with mine. And I was literally just cold message founders, co-founders, anyone I could see in the white paper, and say, I want to get involved in some way. So like, it was literally a grassroots. I know one of the projects on Cardano is Empower, and they're trying to build homes for people
I
in
love what they're doing in
Africa.
Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, and wealth building. So I talked to their founder, Glenn Jordan, and he's super nice guy, super great. And what they needed and my skill set didn't align. But it was just stories like that, like just over and over talking to people, like, here's what I have to offer, what can I do? And then one day it just clicked, like, I care about social media, I care about free speech. And there was a lot of talk about decentralized social media. I'm like, I think I could go after that. So then I was in a whole bunch of Telegram and Discord chat groups, and I met a marketing team, a group of people who had also marketed crypto projects. I reached out to my old professor in cryptography. I also had a professor in school who he's a philosophy professor who is very into free speech and how the difference between free speech and moderation, and how you kind of align the two together. So I just reached out to them and said, here's a project I want to do. Do you guys want to get on board? And they said, that sounds amazing. Let's go ahead and do it. So I guess it was my life experience, how I met them, and then just nose to the grind. So I'm like, I just need to meet people and put myself out there.
You just kept contacting people until they said yes to you.
Yeah,
it takes some courage. Yeah, you probably got a lot of rejection, and people just never answer your emails too.
Yeah, which
you
is
got that team together.
Yeah, I actually, yeah, that's part of the process though. Like, I think people need to know, like, no doesn't mean never, and like you just have to keep knocking to that door until you get your opportunity. But that's really kind of how I met my team and found the people.
Yeah, so can you just explain how ADAGram works and why you think it's so important that we have some kind of decentralized social media platform created?
Real simple. It's, like you said, a decentralized social media platform we're building on the Cardano blockchain. It's going to function a lot like Twitter, Facebook on the user side of things. And then we're going to add some things specifically for the Cardano ecosystem, kind of throw in blockchain-based stuff. But really our goal is to, I said misunderstood, and it's going to be very different on the back end. And there will be a lot of value adds over the traditional social media sites now, but we don't want users to feel like this is a whole new system that I have to learn.
Okay.
Is kind of the idea. Like, it's going to be our value add. It's almost like, it's like Facebook, but here's how it's better. It's like Twitter, but here's like it's better. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about kind of what the importance is.
Yeah.
When the internet started, it was really began with the idea of giving power to the individual, which is a super noble goal, right? And that was Web 2, and Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook was, hey, we want to connect people together. And they were all noble goals, but basically what ended up happening was all this power started to concentrate in the hands of very few people who held massive amounts of data, who could sell data. And just, I mean, whether or not it's true, you have some portion of the population who believes that Facebook can change the election results, which is a tremendous amount of power for a company to have. And really the need for the decentralized aspect of it is we want to give the power back to the individual. We want people to have ownership of their own data, to be able to say what they believe without fear of censorship, as long as it's, call it, within the confines of normal human discourse. And so what basically happened is once things get created, you have a lot of unintended consequences. Like there's no way that when Henry Ford was making his automobiles, he thought they would have the power to change the environment, right? And I feel like social media and centralized social media now, they had a very noble goal, but it has to be updated and adjusted for the problems that came as a result. So right now we kind of see people unjustly being censored, banned, demonetized, their data is being sold, their privacy is being invaded without their consent. And for us, we want to say, you know what, no, you can say what you want to say without being a jerk, basically. And you have ownership rights of your own data, right? So right now, if you have a Facebook profile, you don't own that, Facebook does. And we want to say, nope, you're an individual, you can own your profile page. And if you want to sell the data to an advertising company, you have the right to do that, or you don't have to do it. And so really ADAGram is all about giving rights back to the person.
You're also working on a utility token, right? So how does that work to reward creators, and how does that whole system work?
So luckily, like I said, there's brilliant people that came up with things. Some of our ideas are novel, some we borrowed from other platforms and how they do it. And we think that we have the best combination of ways to reward. So one super cool aspect of decentralized social media that you can do is you can reward the creators directly. You don't need the intermediary in between. And a lot of other decentralized social media platforms reward their content creators one way, like here's your revenue stream. And with ADAGram, we're going to have at least 3 different revenue streams for our content creators, and then add a 4th for creators and users. So we're still working out, we're going to do a lot of testing and learning to figure out exactly how much utility tokens to issue and things like that. That's going to be a part of our test site. So I want to make very clear, these numbers are not final. We're going to be very methodical and make it a sustainable project. But the first way we're going to reward our creators, and everyone's kind of familiar, is the peer-to-peer tipping, right? So you like someone's comment, you say, okay, I'll send you.
You can tip them yourself.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And
nice.
Our utility token is going to be ADG for ADAGram. So you tip a person 1 ADG, 10 ADG, however much you deem necessary. Next, interacting with the blockchain will have a cost associated with it. Everything has fees, things like that. And part of the fee when users engage in the content creators' creation, what they're doing, they will get a payment in that. So if I like your post, I comment on it, I share it, all of those will have different fees associated, and the content creator gets paid directly out of those fees as a revenue stream. So it's a way to say, hey, I like this, boom, whatever, charges me 10 cents, whatever, pick a number, and they get those 10 cents. None of it will go to ADAGram or anything like that, the foundation. It goes directly to the content creator for people engaging in what they put out. And for the user, it's a nominal amount, very, very small. They can do it basically as much as they want. But the idea is if you have these people who are creating viral content over and over, and a lot of people like them, that's how so a small amount of money over a large amount of people can be a large sum of money. And then the third way, which is a way that's pretty unique to ADAGram. So I'm sure a lot of the people watching this are familiar with Cardano stake pool and how they work. We're going to create a stake pool. And a portion of the revenue from the stake pool is going directly into a smart contract for our content creators. And and every epic, after the epic finishes, the smart contract is going to figure out what the total engagement on the ADAGram platform was, and you get paid out part of the revenue equal to your share of engagement. So really simple math, let's say 10,000 ADA proceeds from that epic go into the smart contract, and your posts were 10% of the engagement, whether that's likes, comments, shares, those sorts of things, you'll get directly paid 100 Cardano or 100 ADA straight to your wallet. So it's a way to use the stake pool mechanism in Cardano that's already built in to reward our content creators. Now, another benefit for us is we're also planning to use the stake pool as to pay for our expenses, right? So we're not going to ask for VC money. We're not going to ask for other people other than Catalyst, but we really want it to be a community funded project and everyone to feel like they're a part of it. So that's that using the stake pool is a great way to capitalize on basically what Cardano has already built and to help our content creators. And then the fourth way that both users and content creators earn revenue is through ad partnerships and ads. So if you're familiar with the Brave browser, it's very similar to that, where advertising companies will have to buy ADAGram utility tokens, so that hopefully increases the value of the whole ecosystem, and they will pay for their ad space in ADAGram. And when you, the user of the platform, see an ad, that ADAGram goes directly into your wallet. So it's a way for you to say, I want ads, I don't want ads, but if you want ads, you can earn revenue off it. So it's a lot of different ways where, I mean, these social media companies now are making billions and billions and billions of dollars. And it's a way for us to say, hey, you can use our site, but you can also get paid while you use it. It's your information. You should have the, we're not selling your privacy and your data. You're the one that can say, I want to sell it. And because my data has a monetary value, you're compensated for it. So I know that was kind of a lot, but hopefully each one
that's helpful.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's really good for adoption of your token too. If the companies themselves that have to advertise on your platform have to be owners of that token and work with the token. Yeah, that's really smart. So it seems like you really want to make sure this is a platform for the people. You want to make sure that you're protecting free speech. I also want to know, though, how are you going to fight misinformation, fake news, and people who are just straight up maybe trying to manipulate elections or something with false data? How do you fight something like that if everybody has the right to free speech? Do you have a smart contract for that? How do you, not moderate, but how do you figure out what's fake and what shouldn't be out there?
Yep, and you're absolutely right. I think for us as a team, that's the hardest thing to figure out. And I think we have a pretty good solution, but we spent a lot of time thinking about this problem because there's always going to be a balance of free speech and moderation and what speech is permissible. And I will say that's one reason why when I had this idea, I said, I need to talk to my philosophy professor, who's like, is the chair of a free speech organization and really, really into this, because I care about it, but I'd rather go to someone who has 40 years experience actually listening to it, go like, how do you set this up and how does it work with technology? But we kind of approach it with a few different layers. So like you said, free speech is obviously of paramount importance to us in the platform. And then we don't want it to devolve into something that's completely unusable because there's nefarious actors, offensive people, just awful. And you see that, unfortunately, a lot of social media sites that want free speech end up devolving into something where everyone's like, this isn't what I want to use on a platform. So the first way we can combat misinformation, disinformation, fake news, false narratives, campaigns, all of those things is by using a utility token that has a financial value. There's a cost associated with every bit of information you put out there. So now the cost is nominal for a user. We're talking $1, $2, whatever it is. It's not that expensive. But what happens is the reason someone on Facebook can, or Twitter, or whatever social media site you want, can spread all this disinformation and create all these bot accounts is because they're free, right? I can go on Fiverr right now and buy 100,000 Twitter followers for $5, right? Because someone just has a bot pumping them out all the time. And they can do that because it's free. But now if you're going, hey, you have to pay a little bit of money each time, now it becomes economically just not wise, right? Because people can't push that through. So really the idea is if you have a small cost associated with something, it really disincentivizes the fake narratives.
Gotcha.
And
I'm thinking though, what if there's a company that really wants to push a fake narrative about their company and make it look better than it actually is? If they have more money than the average person, wouldn't that allow the company to spew out all this fake data?
yes, I would say you're partly right, right? But if that company has all that money, they also do it with advertising in general anyways,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I will say one of the things that we're going to test and learn, and our product is never going to be final. And really what we're doing is trying to stand on the shoulder of giants and make something a little bit better than we have. And I hope we get it right. I think we're going to get it right. But I also really hope 5 years from now, someone will say, hey, I have a way to improve ADAGram, and here's how. So it's going to be marginal steps. And I don't know if we're going to get everything right from the start, but I think we will. We're going to try to, that's our aim, but I'm also not arrogant enough to say I figured out the answer for every single hard problem that people have been trying to solve for thousands of years. But it's kind of our solution. Now, what we can also do, and what we're also going to do, and it's used in another decentralized social media platform, and we're going to add a little bit to it, but you can implement a distributed moderation team. And so what happens is, instead of I report your content on Facebook, one person decides, hey, like, I don't like Gianna, like she did this or that, let's ban her from the platform, let's demonetize her. You have no way to go, and that's a small person. What we want to do is have multiple people, hopefully tens, dozens, hundreds of people, and that's what we're going to test to find a number, to be moderators and say this content's wrong, this content's harmful, this content's illegal, promoting hate speech, all of those things, and not covered under free speech. And now the moderation team will sign up, and they'll be compensated for their work in the ADAGram utility token. And this might seem tricky, but it's pretty much the exact same way that Catalyst works with their assessors. So if people aren't familiar with Catalyst, it's how Cardano projects get funded. And they have people that just volunteer to assess the projects. And now what happens is, if you assess a project and your numbers are way off than everyone else, they say you're not a very good assessor, your rewards will get slashed, you can't assess any more projects. So there's a way to say, hey, you kind of have to be in line. Now what we're going to do is, because we really believe in free speech, it's not going to be a 50-50 split, right? I mean, we have elections all the time that end up 51% to 49%. Half the country feels like they got screwed. We don't want to kick half the users out for a platform because they said something questionable. And you can imagine there's a lot of sensitive political issues, controversial topics that we want people to talk about, that would be good for people to feel like they can talk about without fear, without crossing the line. So we're going to implement a supermajority consensus. So 90%, 95% of people need to say, hey, this isn't covered under free speech, right? You're actually being hateful, you're actually inducing fear, you're trying to manipulate things. And once we have that supermajority, then the person will face the appropriate punishment. So it's a way to say, hey, it's not just going to be a majority of rules, but you have to, if I say something and half the people like it, half the people don't, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not. But if I say something and 99 out of 100 people say, wow, that was totally wrong, you're trying to hurt people, you shouldn't have a platform, then I probably said something that's pretty wrong. And the great thing about doing it on Cardano, on the blockchain, on the public ledger, is it also will allow people to see, here's what I said, and the moderation team will give feedback in a way to say, this is why it's wrong. Because we never want to shut somebody down because they said something wrong out of ignorance, out of lack of knowledge, something like that. But we want to correct people without saying you're a bad person because you thought this way, but saying, hey, that idea might not be right, and here's the reason why. And then we give people the benefit of the doubt. But when it's open and public, you go, oh, this is what I said that was wrong. This is where I went wrong, and hopefully it helps make people more self-aware, and really know what is acceptable and what's not, because there's a lot of times that we find, I've actually personally seen people going like, I didn't know what I said was wrong, and it turns out it is wrong, and I don't want to be a wrong person. I don't want to be a bad person. I made a mistake. And that's kind of the point of making it public, so that people can see with the supermajority. So you allow for small errors, but it's very clear when someone's saying something that they shouldn't be doing, or cut and dry, this is wrong.
Got it.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
That was
sense.
a long, very wordy, but
yeah,
it's
thanks
a
for answering
complicated problem.
that. Yeah, it is. It's an issue I think a lot of people want to know, because they want to make sure that they're able to have discussions that really need to be had. But at the same time, if you're obviously harming people and doing something illegal, then we can't have that. And spreading all that information out there, if it's going to have a really large negative effect on the whole world. Yeah. So I saw on your Project Catalyst proposal that you had a little bit about how you're being in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. Can you discuss a little bit for our audience how you plan to achieve that?
The SDGs that we're really focused on would be no poverty, quality education, decent work and economic growth, reduce inequalities, and then partnerships for the goals. And really what it boils down to is the promotion of the individual. So as far as no poverty, quality education, and decent work, we're going to give people the value that they bring to our network, and they're going to get compensated directly proportional to the amount of engagement that they have. And hopefully through that, people can make a living. I mean, no poverty, I know one of the goals is no one lives on less than $1.25 a day by 2030. And we think now there's an internet problem getting people online, but just giving people without opportunity who may have internet access the ability to take control of their ownership and post content that's engaging, it really opens up the opportunity. Now, and that goes for reducing inequalities. Another big concern of ours is getting information to places where censorship is very heavy, because censorship, call it in the free world, usually goes, I'm saying something and this company is not letting me say it. But there's a lot of places where censorship is done by the government, and people, I mean, you can look at, I would say North Korea is probably the biggest example of, you go, hey, these people don't actually know what's going on because all their information is so heavily censored. And that would be the reach. So I guess that's kind of the no poverty, the quality education, meaning you can learn things, you can get information, even if your government doesn't want you to have it. You can learn all these ways to provide for yourself. And I think our whole focus is empower the individual, give the individual the opportunity, and then the individual will rise to the occasion. And there were other things that we talked about with my team, like why do we want to, as far as energy consumption, let's build on Cardano because it's very energy efficient. And there's a lot of other little things that went into it, but I would say the main one is reducing poverty and creating economic growth, while reducing inequalities everywhere.
And what's your outreach strategy right now to give people access to this education if maybe their country doesn't even want them to have access to this? How are you creating these partnerships? How are you reaching out to the people who really need something like this?
So that right now is a part of our roadmap. So really what we want to do is develop a platform that people can use, show that it works, show that it does it. And then our next step is going, so I'll give one example is I do have a relationship with Glenn Jordan, the founder of Empower, where we talked about forming a partnership. And once I and my team, we build out ADAGram, it can be something that he uses for the people that he's helping and say, hey, this product is out there that you guys can use. So it kind of forms that partnership, and then really just working with people. We really think that once we show that it works, once and we're very vocal about our ethos, what drives us, what motivates us. The people who hear that are also motivated by the same thing will want to get involved, and we'll say, how can I help? And then we have all these different ways to kind of say, okay, these are the places where the UN says there's no access to information. So like, let's work and partner with the people who are trying to do that. But I think for us, the first thing is actually making a quality product, and then working on the partnerships to reaching as many people as we can. Otherwise, we get nowhere, and we don't have a good product. And without a good product, you can't reach anyone anyways.
Makes sense. Okay, we're running a little short on time, but I want to know, what are your goals for the next 5 years, and how can our YouTube community here help you with those goals?
We have our roadmap planned out for the next 2 years. In about 6 months' time, we're going to have a testnet version of our site. In 1 year, we're going to launch the product to the public so everyone can use it. After the initial launch, we're going to continue development, add more features, partner with more Cardano projects. In about 2 years, we're going to have an interoperable platform that users can enjoy on every chain, not just Cardano, and opening up messaging services, sharing content within different blockchains and decentralized social media projects. And now that sounds confusing, but that's basically akin to what email is today. So right now on the blockchain, if I have a Gmail account, I can only send you an email if you have a Gmail account. If you have an Outlook account, we can't do that. So our goal for this social media site is to say, hey, you want to use our decentralized social media site, but someone else also did something really cool, and we want you to be able to talk to them, share your content with them across platforms, because there's so much talent and so many cool things going on in this space that to say you're limited to this one platform on this one chain is just limiting people, and we don't want to do that. And then in 5 years, we really hope to be the go-to place for social media, because it's such a big part of our lives. And then your community can help. There's a lot of different ways. So we have a catalyst proposal right now. So when voting opens up, if you believe in the project, please vote for us so we can get the funding to hire the right developers, reach out to the right people, get all the support we need. We also have Twitter, Instagram. You guys can follow us on those sites, Telegram and Discord. And then also, if you want to get involved and be a part of our testnet and see it, you can email me directly. It's greg@adagram.io, and I'll put you on our list of people to reach out to when we have a testnet and you want to test it out. We are more than happy. The more the merrier. And if you want to get involved in our project and see how you can be of help, whether it's spreading the word or whatever, just email me and we'll figure it out from there.
Awesome. I'll link all your info down below too. So if people want to reach out to Greg, or you want to check out their Telegram, all their different socials, they'll all be there in the description too. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Greg, for being on the show. Love
Thank you
sharing
for
what you're
having
up
me.
to. And yeah, maybe in the future, once you have more stuff later down the road, we can also have you again. But thank you so much. We love hearing about new innovative stuff. We love hearing about new Cardano projects that are up and coming. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's it for us today. Feel free to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Feel free to share this with your friends if you enjoy this content, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.